Hello, it's been a long time. That is my fault. I apologise for that. And I know in the last video I did use a pretty poor excuse for why it's taken me a while, and no shame, I'm fully going to do it again. But at least this time, I have been playing a different game, and I have a legitimate excuse as well. Lockdown's eased, I have my job back, Monday to Friday, for the first time in my life, so I can only make videos on weekends. Well, I should probably get into the actual video. Don't want to be getting done for clickbait or anything, so hello! Welcome to Instalment 12 of YorkCraft. Now, stood in the chapter house, this is going to be a long one. I have been doing quite a lot over a vast area. Nothing particularly in depth, but just kind of extending the borders. I wanted to start in the chapter house, as we haven't looked at it in a while. And coming out of the mason's doors, we can actually see that this entire area now has all its grass, all its flowers, all its trees, all its hedges. And it has also been extended all the way back, so these gardens here are done. The ruin that's there nowadays is fully complete and built up as it should be, so you've got your roof, your ceiling, your vaulted wooden beams. Coming back through these windows, I've also built the bell tower for the stables, which is just behind it. Obviously only the first floor done yet. Coming up to the walls, this entire area now has its banks. I've started adding a little bit of grass, although I'll go into that more detail soon. You can see here there's also ponds, as well as the area's been cut down 2 blocks, and I have finally deleted that old tower. So, stood on this wall, make sure you do remember it, because I'll be coming back to that later on in the video. You can see just in front of us we have Ingram's Ponds. Now technically these were built in 1616, but before that this area was just a mess of kind of hedges and, you know, that Roman ruin just there on the right. So I thought it'd probably look a bit nicer if I put them in, but who knows, I might destroy them later. We can see here in, I believe it was Instalment 10, maybe 11, I'd built the tower and said, shame, I'm going to destroy it. Well, I finally destroyed it. This is the accurate one, or at least an external reference anyway. So just from building Bootham and Monk Bar, I've kind of taken what I've learnt there and tried to adapt it to the inside, as there is no records. This ground floor level is probably going to change a bit, although I'm happy with the room layout so far. Little storage cupboard in the back. Well, I may sort the roofing out there. Coming up this first staircase, we get to the wall access floor, so if you look to the left we can see the way going to Bootham. All the way over to the left of that window, down to Monk Bar. This will be your embattlements, where you could fire your arrows through the slits, and then have cover of the wall if you wanted to pass through. Coming up the next staircase, we then have more roomed areas, so you still have your arrow slits, but there's more windows up here as well. I've tried to partition this area off a bit more, thinking it probably would need more structure, seeing as it was higher up. And finally coming up to the roof, you will notice it's quite empty. I think I'm going to put a trebuchet on that. Why not? I know there were a lot of things were built on top of the towers, including houses in certain instances, so that'll be fun. So, stood over on the Bootham side of the north walls, just by the tower where the arches stop, and if we head towards Bootham, just have a quick look at this tower before we go through the wall. We can see I've started doing a lot more of the grass on these banks and started levelling the hedges and trees out, although that corner of the hedge maze still isn't done. Well, it was actually started to be done by my friend. I've acquired more help since the last video. Anyway, coming back over towards Bootham, we can see the wall kind of juts off. This is a 12-foot wall that was commissioned in the 1200s to border the precinct boundary for the Minster. Now, some of this at a base level does exist today, but a lot of it has been destroyed. In fact, this little square area that we were just looking at there is now a pub. Now, I know a lot of the walls would have probably just been buildings and it wouldn't have been a complete wall, so we'll be destroying it as I go. The area we're looking at now is where St. Peter's Prison and the main Westminster gates would have been. And heading back down High Petergate, all this area on the left and right would have had cottages until it joins up to St. Michael the Belfry. And as we come round the back, still don't want to destroy Terry's yet. You can see the precinct wall continues onto the street actually called Minster Gates. Obviously the main gate was there. And coming over here, this is the access to the old deanery. This is the one record I've managed to find. Sadly, there's no real picture records on public reference for the others. And as we head down Low Petergate, we can see something else I've been doing. This is Gate Holy Trinity Church. Probably one of the most uneven churches in York, and one of the oldest, oddly enough, as well. If we just kind of raise up a little bit, you can already see what an angle it's on, although we'll go into more detail soon. Dramatic pause. Now I've caught you in the middle of the video to show you some evidence of why I don't normally let other users on YorkCraft. This is footage of Dampest Hippo 705 making a polar bear log flume out of one of the bell towers, and this was 2 years ago. A mere 3 weeks ago he repeat offended by filling the central tower roof with ocelots. Annoying, as they're small, fast moving, and the roof is made of half blocks. He will be punished. Anyway, Goodramgate Holy Trinity Church does actually have 4 building periods. The end we're looking at now is 15th century, and as we come round, this is also late 14th century, but the base of the 2 central columns is 12th century. That's original Norman stone. This end technically is from the 1800s, but I've kind of adapted it and removed the external vestry, as I'm building it in the era before internal vestries were abolished. Looking at this end as well, we can see all the roofs are different shapes and sizes, and looking down the main aisle you can see how much of an angle it's actually on. It's been a bit of a nightmare. We have a little chapel just to our right there, and the corner we're stood in now is where the internal vestry will go, just next to the raised altar. And I do know that this church obviously has bells in its bell tower, but there's no plans or access for where the stairs would have gone in the 1500s, so I'm struggling a little bit. And as we come back over and join the precinct walls for the Minster, we can see it cuts right through this street here. The Victorians actually made that street, so it wouldn't have existed back in the 1500s. Although this gap in the walls, the building which is in between, does exist to this day. That's the original gate, or the Bedern Gate. Opposite would have been the actual gate to the Bedern, where the monks all lived. And speaking of which, there's Monk Bar directly in front of us, so if we turn left and head down Oglethorpe, join back up with the precinct walls behind Williams College, we can see where the Oglethorpe Gate would have gone. And unfortunately there are no records for that one that I've been able to find yet either, so progress is a bit slow. As we come round the corner we can see the last bit of the video and what I need to destroy. Coming round the front wall we can see I still haven't managed to do the gardens, but that is for a reason this time, as the next thing I need to destroy is just to the left of the treasurer's house. We can see on that skeleton structure of building there's a diagonal line going through it. Eventually that's going to be a 6-foot wall that joins the road up to the bar walls in the back and borders off the treasurer's house grounds. What's left is the new deanery site. Obviously I showed you the site of the old deanery, so all of this needs destroying, and that's going to get replaced with 2 different mansions walled off from 2 different canons that used to frequent the Minster. We can see if we follow that wall along that we started the video on, it comes up to this skeleton building behind the chapel, and that's where we're eventually going to stop destroying and extend the gardens. Well guys, if you've made it all the way to the end, thank you very much, and if you have liked the video feel free to hit like. If you haven't liked it, feel free to hit dislike. If you're not subscribed and you want to see more of these videos, just hit the subscribe and bell button as always. And until the next one, not quite sure when it'll be now I'm back at work, but obviously we'll destroy a few things. Stay crafty, see you next time. Lastly, anyone aware of Kerbal Space Program, for any extra context, these are the rockets that Dampest Hippo 705 makes. It's always fun playing with Dampest Hippo. It's never, how can I put it, productive, but it is fun. Now I presume you are going to think there's going to be a bit of death going on. You're mistaken. It is a kind god.